I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line, but I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, you know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it. Every country's had a violent revolution for one reason or the other. Not one of them has the freedom we're all talking about. So we're saying give peace a chance, you know, like nobody's ever done it before. And it's not a matter of, we're not thinking in terms of 10 years, we're thinking in terms of peace forever, you know. And everybody's talking about now. I want peace now. We can get peace now if we want it now. And the left wing talk about giving the power to the people. You know, anybody knows that the people have the power. All we have to do is awaken the power in the people. The people are unaware. It's like they're not educated to realize that they have power. They put the politicians in power. They vote for the local mayor. The people do it. But the system is so geared that everybody believes that just the father will fix everything. The father being the government. Government will fix everything. It is all government's fault. You know, shake your fist at the government. Well, we are the government. The people are the government, and the people have the power, but we must try and make them aware of this. And Yoko was telling me about this great old ancient Chinese book, which tells you how to fight a battle, you know. And it says the battle is always lost within the castle, you know, like America's falling within, not from the commies coming. That it's falling apart inside. And this book on how to fight the good fight says that never have every door shut. The enemy then will... Everybody's going to come round and attack. But if you leave one door open, you know where they're going to come in, and then you get them. So intuitively, we're doing that. And we leave a door open. They're so busy shouting about haircuts and genitals and naked and long hair that they concentrate their ammunition there. We know where it comes from, and we get on with the job of selling or doing whatever we're doing. And I believe that. You leave the door open, man, and that's where the door they'll come in, you know. As a Beatle, we made it, and there was nothing to do. You know, we had money, we had fame, and there was no joy, you know. And then I met Yoko, and she was making it as an avant-garde artist, and we both tried to find something we had in common, a common goal in life, because she couldn't rock and roll with me, and I couldn't avant-garde with her. I mean, we can, but that's what we thought at the time. So we decided the thing we had in common was love, and from love came peace. So we decided to work for world peace.
And how do you do that?
We do it by the advertising method. We believe that today's society, advertising is the thing politicians use and commercial companies use. The Beatles use it. John and Yoko should use it. Our product is peace. Of less words and more peace. I think the only way to do it is Gandhi's way. And that's non-violent, passive, positive, or whatever they called it those days. You know. We're selling it like soap, you know. And you've got to sell and sell until the housewife thinks, oh, well, there's peace or war. That's the two products. Peace.
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 Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace. Peace.
Peace in your mind, peace on earth, peace at work, peace at home, peace in the world.
It's to try and get people orientated to think peace, like eat for peace, breathe for peace, and dance for peace, and make love for peace, you know. To just have the peace like a mantra going round and round in your head. War is a game that's gone too far, you know. It's just like we've all just woken up one morning and thought, is it a dream, is it a nightmare, what's been going on? And we're all just trying to make the next day a bit better. Oh yeah. Don't want to waste all this film on our face, do we? We specifically did the poster event around the world for Christmas to try and get at least one plug-in for peace on earth at Christmas, because that's what it's about. And happy birthday, Christ, you know, is what it's about.
If you had one wish for Christmas time, what would it be?
Peace.
Peace on earth. Yeah.
And love.
Peace on earth. That implies no violence, no starving children, no violent minds, no violent households, no violence, no frustration, no fear. If some housewife is against war, just put it in the window, you know, just to let her neighbours know or her husband know. You know, you've got to start on the home ground, like convert your parents. We think we have the right to have a say in the future, and we think the future is made in your mind. It says it, you know, war is over if you want it.
Parasite becomes sufficiently entrenched within the psyche, the prime directive coordinating a person's behavior comes from the disease, as it is now the one calling the shots. Just as someone infected with a rabies virus will resist drinking water, which would flush out the infection, someone taken over by the Wetiko parasite will have nothing to do with anything that will help them get rid of the disease. Wetikos are phobic towards the light of truth, which they avoid like the plague. In advanced stages, this process takes over the person so completely that we could rightfully say the person is no longer there, they are just an empty shell carrying the disease. In a sense, there is just the disease operating through what appears to be a human being. The person becomes fully identified with the mask, the persona, but it is as if there is no one behind the mask. Alien Intrusion, speaking in his own language about the predation of the Wetiko virus, the spiritual teacher Don Juan, of the Carlos Castaneda books, mentions that the ancient shamans called this the topic of topics. Don Juan explains, we have a companion for life. We have a predator that came from the depths of the dimensions and took over the rule of our lives. Human beings are its prisoners. The predator is our Lord and Master. This sounds just like the state of affairs being pointed at in the Bible when, for example, the Gospel of John refers to the devil as the ruler of this world 14:30, 16:11, and Paul speaks of Satan as the god of this world. Corinthians 4:4. The Gnostic Gospel of Philip, talking about the root of evil that lies within all of us, makes the similar point that unless this evil is recognized, it masters us. We are its slaves. It takes us captive. 2.383.5-30 Speaking about the predator, Don Juan continues, it has rendered us docile, helpless. If we want to protest, it suppresses our protest. If we want to act independently, it demands that we don't do so. It is striking how Don Juan's description of the effects of these predators is being enacted in our increasingly militarized society, as our freedoms and liberties get taken away step by step. It is as if an inner, invisible state of affairs existing as a yet unrealized archetypal pattern deep within the soul of humanity is revealing itself by materializing in, as, and through the outside world. To quote Don Juan, indeed we are held prisoner. This was an energetic fact for the sorcerers of ancient Mexico. Don Juan is referring to an energetic fact that I imagine most of us can relate to, i.e., there is something within us that stops us from expressing our true creative genius and attaining our full potential. These predators are time bandits, consuming the precious hours of our lives, as if we are wage slaves on a prison earth doing time. Deepening his description of these predators, Don Juan elaborates, they took over because we are food for them. We are the sustenance. Just as we rear chickens in chicken coops, gallineros, the predators rear us in human coops, human arrows. The Wetiko virus particularly flourishes in overpopulated cities where people are cooped up. When we buy into groupthink and are enlisted as a member of the herd, we become like sheep that are being led over the edge of a cliff, or cattle that are being raised to be slaughtered. Don Juan continues, the predators give us the mind, which becomes our mind. It is as if these predators are in competition with us for a share of our own mind. The predator shapeshifts and assumes our form, and if we are unaware of its masquerade, we will identify with its invasive thought forms as if they are our own, and act them out. We will mistakenly believe that we are acting on our own impulses with our best interests in mind. This predator, Don Juan continues, fears that any moment its maneuver is going to be uncovered and food is going to be denied. The Wetiko predator has an inner necessity, a brute compulsion born out of terror, as it continually has to feed itself so as to postpone its ever-approaching death. Don Juan continues, through the mind, which, after all, is the mind, the predators inject into the lives of human beings whatever is convenient for them, the predators. Cloaking itself in our form, this predator gets under our skin and puts us on as a disguise, fooling us to buy into its false version of who we are. This is why the shortened name of malignant egophrenia is ME disease, referring to a distortion of our identity, i.e., our sense of me-ness. Instead of being in our power and serving ourselves, we unwittingly, which means to be out of our wits, i.e., not in our right mind, become the servant of the predator. Instead of being a sovereign being that is creating with our own thoughts, we will then be created by them, as the predator literally thinks in our place. It is as if the predator is sitting in our seat. Speaking of the predator's scheme, Don Juan says, it proposes something, it agrees with its own proposition, and it makes you believe that you've done something of worth. It is as if there is an alien other, an interdimensional, metaphysical entity which is subliminally intruding its mind into ours in such a way that we identify with its point of view and disconnect from our own. Don Juan refers to this situation as a foreign installation, as if some alien race has set up a home inside of our minds. This is exactly what the Gnostics, the ones who know, are pointing at when they talk about alien predators called archons who infiltrate and subvert the workings of our mind. To the extent that we are not conscious of this alien takeover of our psyche, we become drafted into the predator's sinister agenda, unwittingly becoming its slaves. This state of inner, psychological warfare is mirrored by the sinister PSYOPS psychological operations being instituted by the powers that be in the outside world. The disease feeds on our unawareness of it. Vampires, Forbes writes, the Wetiko psychosis is a sickness of the spirit that takes people down an ugly path with no heart. After all, the Wetiko disease turns such people into werewolves and vampires, creatures of the Europeans' nightmare world, and creatures of the Wetiko's reality. The Wetiko psychosis takes people down, period. Werewolves and vampires are shape-shifting creatures, symbolic representations of the horrific potential within all of us to be taken over by and act out the archetypal shadow, regressing to an archaic level of the psyche and become like a predatory animal, a non-human creature. When these not yet humanized psychic energies break through into consciousness and are not mediated through consciousness, Jung writes, they sweep everything before them like a torrent and turn men into creatures for whom the word beast is still too good a name. Vampires, considered to be the darkest creature of evil's arsenal, have haunted our imagination for ages, as they are representatives of a living process that exists deep within the human psyche. A vampire is not a human figure, but rather is a soulless creature, a being who has lost its soul, or if it hasn't lost its soul has been damned, which is a soul that is lost. Either way, there's something missing. Isolated from the world, it has lost any connection with the part of itself that is related to everything else. From its point of view, the world exists simply for its use. Although it has lost connection with its heart and soul, a vampire hasn't lost its mind, though in one sense it has, as vampires often have clever and incisive intellects that cloak the pathology, making the disease hard to see. This is similar to how people in a deep state of trauma can have brilliant minds as well, a gift that can hide the extent of the trauma, making the malady hard to recognize. The sharpness of the vampire's mind, instead of being devoted to gaining insight into the malady and healing from it, however, is used for the passing on and propagation of the dark art. One of the undead, a vampire is death taking living, human form. The Wetiko virus is ultimately not a living life form, but rather a living form of death. Wetiko, like a virus, is dead matter. It is only in a living creature that viruses acquire a quasi-life. Members of the living dead, vampires are neither truly alive nor truly dead. Like a full-fledged vampire, full-blown Wetikos have forfeited the humanity, becoming a conduit for the impersonal, transpersonal and depersonalizing Wetiko virus to incarnate through them. They are a living portal, an opening in the third-dimensional fabric of space-time through which this contagious, virulent high-dimensional virus can spread itself throughout the field, both locally and non-locally. Lacking a sense of soul, Wetikos are efficient machines dedicated to preserving and serving the state, which, to quote Forbes, is itself a creature of the Wetikos who have seized control of its power apparatus. A full-fledged Wetiko has become a robotic automaton, conditioned to react to certain stimuli like a reflex. They have become part of the machine, with no spontaneity, creativity, originality, nor free thinking programmed in. The humanized Wetikos have lost touch with any sense of aesthetics, of appreciating the inherent beauty of life, and have become an aesthetic, i.e., anesthetized and numb to what it is to be a human being. Emissaries of an authoritarian, militarized, patriarchal earthly culture, the Wetiko bug breeds fascism and terror. To quote the great healer Wilhelm Reich, fascism is the vampire leech to the body of the living, the impulse to murder given free rein. Fascism is the outer, collective political expression of an individual's ravaged in a landscape that has been crippled and suppressed by the authoritarian civilization of the machine. Like a vampire, in full-blown wetikos there is nobody home, which is one of the reasons why, symbolically speaking, vampires have no reflection in a mirror which, mythologically speaking, reflect back images of the human soul. Full-blown wetikos are empty to the core, so there is nothing to reflect. Inwardly there is just an infinite void, a sponge that can never be saturated, a devouring black hole that is feeding on the universe. Their atrophied soul has been emptied out like a piece of wood hollowed out by psychic termites. Full-blown wetikos are so compulsively possessed by an identical with the unconscious in its destructive consciousness negating form that they are not able to see nor think about themselves, which philosopher Hannah Arendt claims is one of the primary characteristics of evil. Unable to self-reflect, they can no longer access within themselves the faculty of the psyche from which such activity derives.